Eyewitness News has brought you thousands of stories over the past 50 years. Some of them are memorable events in our history. Others are tragedies we wished never had happened. Right now, though, we're going to take a look back at the top 10 stories of the past half-century.
The number 10 story in the last 50 years is the case involving nurse GENENE Jones in 1982. Jones is serving life in prison for the death of 11 children in Bexar County and Georgetown. Authorities believe she might have killed as many as 46 children throughout Texas. Prosecutors said that between 1978 and 1982, she would inject ailing children with a heart medication which would cause them to stop breathing. She would then try to bring the child back to look like a hero. The ninth story affected millions in South Texas when on March 31st, 1995, Selena Quintanilla was shot and killed in a Corpus Christi hotel room by Yolanda Saldivar. Authorities say Saldivar shot Selena after she accused her of embezzling money from her fan club and boutique. Selena was adored by millions and was the queen of Tejano music. As news of her death spread, people began leaving flowers and cards at her San Antonio boutique, as well as holding candlelight vigils all over the state for her.
But I just wish it was a bad dream. And I wake up and he wasn't there.
After her death, Selena's dream of becoming a crossover star into pop became true as her single Dreaming of You went to #1 on the Billboard pop charts. The number 8 story is Henry B. Gonzalez. He became the first Hispanic congressman in the state of Texas when he was elected in a special election in 1961. He would serve San Antonio for the next 36 years. Gonzalez showed President John F. Kennedy around Brooks Air Force Base the day before Kennedy's assassination. He then led the charge for an investigation into his death. During that time, Gonzalez was known as a defender of the common man. As banking chairman, he opened investigations into the savings and loan scandal. Gonzalez was always known as a fighter, and it became literally true once in December of 1986. Reporter Bill Allen called him a communist at Earl Abel's restaurant, and Gonzalez then punched him in the face.
What I did do was try to make my point with a minimum of violence.
Gonzalez retired from Congress in September of 1997 to spend more time with his family.
The most hideous crimes in our nation's history.
The number 7 story was on May 29, 1979, when federal judge John Wood was assassinated outside his home. It was the first time a federal judge had been killed over a ruling. Investigators found that accused drug dealers from El Paso had hired someone to kill Wood. Charles Harrelson was convicted of the murder and given 2 life sentences. Harrelson says he was convicted before his trial ever started.
The only thing that people of San Antonio heard for such a long, long time was that these people must have done this.
Harrelson's son is actor Woody Harrelson. He is paying for his father's appeals to this day. Our 6th story involves the death of 2 little girls in August of 1990, Heidi Seaman and Erica Boteo. Heidi disappeared on August 4th as she was walking home from a friend's house. Hundreds came out to help search. A few weeks later, she was found murdered in a field.
In some ways, it seems like forever since I've seen Heidi and held her.
Police said the man who led the search for Heidi, retired Major Eric Duncan, was their prime suspect, but he was cleared in an Article 32 hearing by the military. No one has ever been charged with her murder. 19 days later, 7-year-old Erica Boteo disappeared in front of the apartments where she lived. Another massive search began, and she was found dead. 3 teens were arrested for the crime, but were later released because of a lack of evidence. These 2 deaths helped create the Heidi Search Center, which to this day helps look for missing children.
We're halfway through the top stories of the past 50 years. When we come back, we'll conclude the countdown, which includes the only time the Battle of Flowers parade was ever canceled.
Our 5th story was one that put a large dent into our title of Military Town, USA.
Keep Cali open! Keep Cali open!
In 1995, San Antonio's then largest employer, Kelly Air Force Base, found out it was being shut down by the military. Kelly is the oldest Air Force base in the United States, dating back to 1916. The 19,000 employees and their families didn't go down without a fight.
I want to help my dad keep on bringing money home.
Thousands lined the streets as officials from the Base Realignment Commission came to inspect Kelly, but that didn't help. While that decision changed Kelly's military life, the base, which is set to close in 2001, is now thriving as a private facility. While some of the jobs have left, San Antonio has fought to keep most of them here in a different capacity. The number 4 story involved one of San Antonio's favorite sons. After serving as San Antonio mayor for 7 years, an affair was made public that would affect Henry Cisneros for the next decade. In 1988, he admitted to having an affair with Linda Medlar.
I'm saying that I'm a human being in addition to being mayor. And I'm saying that I'm not perfect.
The backlash from the affair didn't die there. In 1992, Henry Cisneros was interviewed by the FBI for his appointment as Housing and Urban Development Secretary. He was accused of lying to the FBI about payments he made to Medlar after the affair. After a 4.5-year investigation, Medlar was found guilty of money laundering and bank fraud, but spent little time in prison. Cisneros pleaded guilty to a misdemeanor charge of lying to the FBI. He was fined $10,000. The cost to taxpayers of the investigation was over $9 million. The third biggest story of the last 50 years showed how San Antonio truly has faith. It was September 12, 1987, when Pope John Paul II came to San Antonio for a 2-day visit. Hundreds of thousands of people came to see the pontiff. He held 1 private mass and 2 public masses, the first public one at San Fernando Cathedral. The second was a massive affair at Westover Hills. His visit was so meaningful to San Antonio that some people continue to commemorate the event every year.
Just a block away from us at Grayson and Broadway, sniper or snipers are at this moment firing from what is believed to be a recreational vehicle.
In April of 1979, the Battle of Flowers parade was turned into a battle of bullets as sniper Ira Atterbury, a man with a grudge against police, had barricaded himself in his green RV at Grayson and Broadway with an arsenal, shooting at anything that moved.
Smitty, how far can we go? Oh. All right. Police cannot get close. They can't get close to that no good sniper.
Ira Atterbury finally was killed, but not before shooting 3 dead and wounding 52 others, including 5 police officers. And the parade was canceled for the only time in its history. The number 1 story in the past 50 years in San Antonio is HEMISFAIR of 1968. The World's Fair, which began on August 6th that year, put the Alamo City on the map in many ways. Dignitaries from all over the world came to San Antonio for the event, which lasted 6 months. We wouldn't have the Tower of the Americas, which was built to commemorate the HEMISFAIR. This also highlighted San Antonio as a tourist attraction in the future and began the expansion of the Riverwalk. The HEMISFAIR gave the Riverwalk commercial activity as old buildings which backed up to the river were given new entrances from the river. Also, the World's Fair brought the first new hotel to downtown San Antonio in decades. The Hilton Palacio del Rio was built on the riverbanks in just 9 months. City leaders say there's no telling where San Antonio would be today if we hadn't had a World's Fair in 1968.
Through the 50 years of KENS 5, there has been one constant, Dan Cook. When we come back, we'll talk with a man who's been on the air, well, not for 50, but for the past 42 years.